You are listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. ADHD Support Talk Radio is sponsored by ADDclasses.com. Sign up now for a free webinar at www.addclasses.com. This is your co-host, Tara McGillicuddy, and I am back today to talk to you about staying on track. But before I start talking about that, I want to let you know a little bit about myself. I am the co-host of ADHD Support Talk Radio, the founder of ADHD Support Talk Radio that's been up and running for over a decade now at this point. This is one of the longest running and most popular ADHD podcasts out there. So I help people with ADHD lead happier, more productive lives. I provide coaching and other support resources. I help people shift their energy also. You can learn more about me and the services that I offer by going to taramcgillicuddy.com. And like I said, I am here to talk to you about staying on track, keeping on track when you have ADHD. And as I am recording this, it is the third week of January 2022. And this is the time where they say most people, not just people with ADHD, fall off track when it comes to their New Year's goals or resolutions. They joke that the gyms and other types of places like that, that's when there starts to be room. People can return to the gym again because all of the New Year's people, stopped with their goals and stuff like that. So I thought this would be a great time to record an episode about how to stay on track, how to keep yourself going, keep that momentum, keep going. And I think there are a bunch of different strategies, but one that I think is really important when you have ADHD, it's probably important for everyone, but especially when you have ADHD, is to make time to evaluate and reevaluate your goals, your strategies, what you're doing on a regular, I want to say consistent basis, because a lot of us with ADHD, I joke that I'm consistently inconsistent, but put time in your calendar, in your planner, to evaluate and reevaluate your goals, whether they're working, whether they still make sense for you. And maybe once a month, maybe once a week, I don't know, people are different, but just have it in there and have it become something you do automatically, that it's part of your process of evaluating and reevaluating. And the first part of that is thinking about, okay, what is it you're doing? What are you trying to accomplish? What would you like to accomplish? What would you like to bring more of in your life? And, say you set a goal to be healthy this year. What does it mean for you to be healthy? What does that actually mean? Some people might have weight loss goals, exercise goals, healthy eating goals. They want to eat better. What does that mean? And, maybe 3 weeks ago on New Year's Day, or whenever you're listening to this, maybe it was 2 months ago, maybe it was 2 days ago. Does that still make sense? Is there any way to tweak the outcome, tweak the goal, what you want? Does the way you phrased it, the way you're going about it, just the desired outcome itself, does that still make sense to you? And maybe just tweaking it a little bit, the wording. Maybe it was, okay, I want to lose weight this year. Maybe you still want to lose weight. That's part of, what you want to accomplish. But maybe your goal has changed to you'd like to be healthy this year. That's just an example. And then your why is very important. And your why is something that could change day to day, minute to minute, month to month. So, and maybe you didn't even come out with a why. You didn't think about why you were actually setting this goal or why it was important for you to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. So if you didn't have a why to begin with, that's very important. So those of you who have come to my group action sessions, my free 2-hour group action sessions, at the beginning of the sessions, or my 90-minute now also, I have people do a warm-up exercise, and that is to think about your why. Why is it important for you to complete what you've set out to complete today? What's in it for you? What's the payoff? What's the benefit? And that's very important. And your why can be, like I said, can be different from day to day. So one way to stay on track and to continue staying on track, not get off track or get back on as quickly as possible, is to reevaluate and evaluate your why, and to have a why to begin with and make it about you. And in addition to your why, try to frame it in a way like, what will you have more of in your life if you accomplish this goal, if you set out to do what you wanted to do, what you set out to do? What will you increase? What will you have more of in your life? And some people might say, oh, I'll have less overwhelm. How can you reframe less overwhelm? Instead of, I'm going to have less overwhelm, less stress, what will you have more of in your life? So what's the opposite of overwhelm? More peace, more fun, more tranquility. And you might have a different definition than what I'm saying right now. So when you're connecting with your why, when you're evaluating or reevaluating your goal, what you set out to do, whether it's in the new year or any other time, think about your why and connect with your why. And your why, that's why it's important to reevaluate and evaluate on a different basis, on a regular basis, is that your why most likely is going to change. It might still be the same, similar, but it might be a little bit different, or it might be completely different. So your why is very important when you evaluate and reevaluate your goals. And then your strategies, the way you're going about accomplishing your goal or whatever it is you set out to accomplish or what you would like to change, the way you're going about it, the strategy, your formula, how you're doing it, is that still working for you? And it may be that just tweaking it a little bit, like looking at it, okay, let's see how I'm doing it. What about it is working for me? What about it isn't working so well? And more often than not, you don't really need to change the entire process, the entire way you're going about it. Maybe remove something, add something new, change it a little bit, make a micro change. So that's important also to evaluate and reevaluate. And then not necessarily giving yourself a break, but understanding that life can sometimes get in the way and we get thrown off track. I mean, I don't know if normal's the right word, that's common. I mean, this was common 2 years ago, but we've been through a crazy time in the past couple of years. So taking that into account, not necessarily giving yourself a break, I don't know if that's the right terminology, but really taking that into account that, hey, maybe 2+ years ago, it was easier for you to get back on track because the world was different. Okay, the world's a lot different 2 years later, or however, time it is when you're listening to this. And because things have changed, the world's different, maybe it might be a little harder for me, a little more challenging for me to get right back on track. And then, we all have things in our lives that, happen. I mean, I went through 2 surgeries and I was sick with COVID in 2021. This was all in a 6-month period. So my brain, my body, and my energy was not working like it had, before that. I'm doing a lot better now, but I had to take that into consideration when I was trying to do things that were easy for me to do, like, do a webinar, do a podcast episode. And there were times where I physically and emotionally, or in my mind, it wasn't working well enough for me to do that. So taking that into account, taking account into your situation that you're in right now, that, not, like I said, not necessarily letting yourself blow it off, give yourself a break, but taking that into account. And if things are different now than they were last week, last month, last year, 5 minutes ago, more than likely that means something needs to be switched up, whether it's your process of accomplishing whatever it is you set out to accomplish, or maybe the goal, what you were setting out to do, the project you wanted to do, maybe there's a different time to do it. So these are some things to really take into consideration when it comes to keeping yourself on track, staying on track, getting back on track. So the reevaluating, and your why is extremely important, and that becomes part of the reevaluation process. And I think if you're someone who you don't evaluate on a regular type of basis, put it into your calendar. And if you don't have a calendar, create one. Maybe that's all you have in the calendar is 2 weeks from now, I'm going to evaluate my project, whether it still makes sense to work on it, whether my why is still the same, and the way I'm going about doing it. How is that working for me? So I just want to come on with a quick podcast episode of ADHD Support Talk Radio. Be sure to stop by taramcgillicuddy.com. I have the group action sessions that I offer on a regular basis. This year, I also started doing a 2-week action group. So there's 6 2-hour sessions. The next one begins on February 1st, and you can find out more about that under events at taramcgillicuddy.com. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.